The Treasurer set to announce major changes to the super industry, which he says will reshape the $3.3 trillion industry and end the super wars. Peter Switzer is here, the founder of the Switzer Report. Pete, what do you make of this?
Well, I think Jim Chalmers is under pressure for a number of reasons. You know, we're looking at changes to super. One of the changes quite controversial for 11,000 Australians with more than $5 million in super. That could mean that a number of tax concessions are taken away from those people. I guess Jim Chalmers would say those 11,000 people, very few of them would vote for Labor. I think the budget's going to have a lot of super changes buried in it. And I think the industry super funds really hated the fact that people could draw money out of super during the pandemic. I think it was about $36 billion was taken out from 3 million people. I think a lot of people forget the economic challenges that the Morrison government was facing when they allowed people to do that. And even though a lot of people blew their money on gambling and drinking, reports said, I think a lot of people probably used it to make up for the fact that their JobKeeper payments weren't the same as their normal wages. And I also think that industry super funds would be saying to Jim Chalmers, and industry super funds are very close to Labor, we didn't like losing that money. And the problem you've got, if people are able to get their super early, it means they're on the pension early, which of course becomes a budget and tax issue for the Treasurer. So you can see why he's interested in making a few changes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I suppose the coalition line will emerge as it was during the pandemic that, Pete, you know, this is your money. You should be able to do with your money as you wish, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the bottom line is that Labor will keep fighting the line, preserve. We want to preserve the money so you retire with dignity. These are the words that they will use to justify it. But I think they've also got another problem there. I think a lot of young people don't like losing 10.5% of their super. Makes it very hard for them to buy a home or find the repayments right now as interest rates are rising. So it's a politically important issue that could start in this budget and then roll right into the election in a few years' time.
Okay, data drops this week, Pete.
Some huge ones, Peter. Look, the US has the Purchasing Managers Index. And remember, America is wondering whether its inflation is coming down fast enough. And right now, the stock market isn't selling off like you would have thought, given the fact that we saw retail numbers, inflation numbers, and job numbers all suggesting that inflation is not falling quickly. So having a look at the US economy is going to be big for the stock market this week. You've got economic growth as well. You've got home sales. But the really big one is the PCE core deflator. Now, this is a number I know you really hang on, Pete. You can't wait to hear the PCE core deflator. The economists love this one, but the Federal Reserve loves it more. This is the inflation number they really want. So that comes out later in the week. If it's a good one, the market will like it. If it's a bad one, the market will really get worried that the Fed's going to be really aggressive in its interest rate rises, and tech stocks will cop it. Last week, tech stocks did pretty well, but I think if that number's a bad one, tech stocks will really cop it. And then locally, of course, the Reserve Bank minutes, I think that's going to be the big story for us. What they're saying about what they think they're going to do with interest rates is going to be a really important thing, but for both the stock market and I think the Aussie dollar as well.
Okay, good to see you, Pete. Chat soon.
Cheers, mate.